Alright, welcome to this session. This is kind of like the +1 session of the Leadership Development Program this year. And I think this is a really important session because I think, in the past I've done a lot of things in terms of with the team, in terms of goals and goal setting and goal achievement and technologies and ways to help people achieve those things. And what's been really cool, obviously, is some of the results people have got. I know Noel and Paul and Henry over in Australia have shared all sorts of goals and stretch goals and exciting things that you've been able to achieve. And I think that there are some people who really have taken on board the goal achievement process and have really mastered and are doing really, really well. And I think that there are some people probably in the organisation who could do with some more help, a bit more support. And I think this is what this is about. This is about not just being me, delivering a program and doing a talk once a year. It's about making something that we, interactive, that we engage people, throughout the year, and then that as a leadership team, we can all actually help our people, help the team, help each other to achieve things. Because I think that if we do that, and we make our lives masterpieces and something exceptional, and we help our people to do that, last month's great results are going to become eclipsed by what we're going to do as a team. I think moving forward with that type of energy, and focus. So really what this is about today is enrolling you, our leadership team, to be part of creating something exceptional for yourselves, for each other, and for the wider team. So I love these two quotes. If you think you can do a thing or think you can't do a thing, you're right. And I think that I sort of start every time we've done this goal achievement process, I've started with that. And what I want to do today is there are going to be 2 slides that are going to be in the team's presentation, just so that we can have a wee discussion around them, so we've got a little bit more in-depth knowledge about why this process is so important, because I think the why is critical. I think that the people who get the why are the people who buy into this, and the people who buy into it are the people who get incredible results. And I think that if you think you can do a thing or think you can't, you're right. And so this is about starting to understand. I think the why helps you to understand why this works, why you can do a thing, why you can make something like this happen. And I love this quote as well: your current conditions do not reflect your ultimate potential, but rather the size and quality of the goals upon which you're currently focusing. If you're going to think small, the quality of your life is going to be small. If you're going to play it safe, you're going to have a lesser life than if you dare to dream, if you dare to go after those big dreams, if you dare to set your sights high and go after things, and you're going to stumble, you're going to trip, you're going to fall. But if you fall 1,000 times, you get up 1,001 times. That's the simple secret of success. And I think that people confuse success, and people I think it's much more complicated than it really is. The key is just get up more times than you fall over. And if you do that, and you think about it, and you have a plan, and you sort of look at the results you're getting, it's not like keep doing the same thing, but if you get up and adjust your approach, you're going to get there. Persistence, I think, is the key to this. And I think that's why I want to make this something that we really engage everyone throughout the course of the year, because I think by doing that, man, we're going to achieve some cool things. So today what we're going to do is talk about the why goals are important. And I think that that's just a really, and what I'd like to do is I'll present some things and then open it up for discussion, because I think this understanding is critical. This buy-in is critical. As a leadership team, if we're living this, if we're setting the example, setting a standard that people will go, yeah, I want to go for that, and we know why it's important, we can talk it through with people, then I think we're going to get people's buy-in a lot more. I think, one thing is, I don't want some success for someone more than they want it themselves. Yeah. But the flip side of that is, sometimes you need to help people to want it. It's not that I'm going to want it more than them, or that we want it more than our teams, but let's get to a point so that they are willing and wanting to go after success in their lives, whatever that looks like. We're going to talk about leadership and goals, and why I think it's so important as a leader to help people to achieve their goals. We'll go through just a wee bit about the program. I've got some ideas about supporting the team, and then what we're going to do to take action. But in terms of when we get to the ideas about supporting the team, I would love everyone's ideas. I've got some an input. How do you think you could do it with your division, your team, your department, whatever it is? Because I think that You know, as I said, these are just my ideas, and I'm sure there are some great ideas out there. So the first question that I have, the first thing is, why are goals important? Let's just throw it out there. Just sing out, you know, one-liners. Why are goals important?
You have to have somewhere that you're going to.
Have somewhere you're going for, exactly. Targets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Gives you direction.
Gives you direction. Yep. Direction helps you make decisions, doesn't it? So you're moving in towards that target.
Yeah.
Fulfillment in life as well, when you reach your goals.
Fulfillment in life. Absolutely.
Like you're achieving stuff.
Absolutely. A life, you know, you're either growing or you're dying, aren't you? And you're moving forward or you're moving backwards. No one's staying still. Because if you're staying still, the world's moving past you.
Yeah.
So you're going backwards.
It's the easiest way to activate your subconscious.
Exactly. Exactly.
I think why as well. Like you have to have something for that why.
Yeah.
Like why you're here. Why?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the target and the driving force are both important, aren't they? You can't just have the driving force. They work completely hand in hand. Any ideas from Australia?
I just find they help me plan. If I know what my goals are, it's part of the whole
Yep.
plan. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes decision making a lot easier, doesn't it? If you know what you're trying to achieve. Result focused, purpose driven life means decisions are often made already. You just have to.
It really makes you stretch that little bit further to get where you have
Right
to
on.
go as well.
Absolutely. Because you can go, oh, there's my target, but actually that's playing a bit small. Let's just shoot it out a little bit more. Totally. And you know, we grow when we stretch. That's I think the only reason we grow. It's like building a muscle, isn't it? And you work out beyond its capability. You break the muscle fibers and it rebuilds itself bigger and stronger.
Yeah.
Leave less to chance.
Leave less to chance. Exactly. Exactly. If you're not going after your own goals, someone's going to recruit you to go after their goals for you.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to be doing someone else's work unless you're going after your own things.
Yeah.
Katie or Henry, any other ideas from you guys? I know you both. You're into this.
I would say it allows you to identify what's really important to you.
Yes. Great call. Because if you don't do that consciously, you just end up falling into mediocrity, the norm, don't you?
Yeah.
That's a great point. That's a great point. And then by doing it consciously, you can actually adjust things around, can't you? You go, well, actually, you know, this is what's important, but this is what I'm making important by just my actions. So you can, you know, what you say. Anytime you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. So I think one of the keys to a fulfilling life is that you're not saying yes to the unimportant at the expense of saying no to the important. And we're going to do some stuff around that throughout the program. So, yes, Henry.
What you said there, just the other one that you had at the top of your last slide was that I really find like the whole roadmap. You know, it's actually mapping out how you get to that goal. So it's like the goals at the end, but it's actually what you've got to do to get there, which is that map of kind of success.
Yeah, so if you want something really badly, this is the perfect way to get it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Makes me think of that study they did in Yale in 1959 where they looked at the graduating class and they looked at a whole cohort of things. And one of the things was who had written down goals and a plan to achieve those goals. They then looked at that same group of people 20 years later, and the astonishing thing was that the 3% of people, only 3%, I mean this is Yale, so this is like, you know, Ivy League, but 3% of them had written down goals and a plan to achieve them. And those 3%, they were happier, they were more fulfilled, they had better relationships, and the objective one that you can easily measure, those 3% had more wealth than the collective other 97%. Unbelievable. The only difference was written down goals with a plan to achieve them. So they're powerful. So, you know, I think that, you know, you mentioned the subconscious, and what I think one of the reasons goals are so important is because they send commands to our subconscious minds and get us to move towards something. Now, there's been all sorts of studies done, but you know, the general sort of thing is that the subconscious mind is 30,000 times more powerful than our conscious minds. The amount of data, like, I can't remember the exact number, but it's something like, you know, we can process, it's something like, I don't know, 46 million pieces of data consciously a second. It's a huge number, but subconsciously it's something like 300 billion. I mean, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it's unbelievable how much your subconscious is processing all the time. And the goals tell it what to look for. The subconscious mind can't choose and it can't make value judgments. It just obeys your dominant thoughts. So whatever you're thinking on, whatever you're focusing on, that's what your subconscious is moving towards. And you know, it's incredibly powerful, because the subconscious, it doesn't make the value judgment. It doesn't hear, I want to get out of debt. I want to get out of debt. You know, or you know, I wish, whatever it is. I wish my relationship wasn't so bad. All it's hearing is debt, bad relationship. It's focusing on the point that you're making, not whether you like it, whether you don't like it, whether you want it or not. It doesn't make those value judgments. It just focuses on things. And the thing is, if you're not setting goals consciously, if you're not choosing what's important in your life, then your subconscious is going to do it automatically. And it's going to do it based on your dominant thoughts. So if you're worrying about something, it's going to focus on the worry. It's going to manifest, it's going to move you towards that worry. And I think that this is just a really simple way of looking at why a goal is important. We've got to direct the flow. Now, some of you have been here for a while, have seen this picture, and I think it's pretty good. But this just shows you, if you look at the sad guy over here, it could be a sad man or a sad woman. It's very difficult to tell. But if you look at the sad person there, then you'll see that while they want here. So, who here would like $1 million?
Oh yeah.
Everyone would, of course who would. This person wants $1 million, and this is their conscious mind, focusing, moving towards $1 million. But their subconscious, they're telling themselves, debt, worry, I've got money worries, I don't, this is what they're moving. So their subconscious, 30,000 times more powerful, is pulling them in a direction they don't want to go in. Their little conscious mind is doing all these little things, but it's absolutely ineffective. What goal setting does, and what effective goal setting does, because I think setting goals is a good thing. The effective goal setting is that much more powerful. And what it does, I think simply, is it shifts the tide and moves the subconscious to be moving in the direction your conscious wants to go to too. So you've got a tool 30,000 times more powerful, moving you in the direction you want to go. So that's how I look at goal setting. I think, putting it simply, it's just shifting this unbelievable force and moving it in the right direction. Something in your head, in your mind, you've got what's called the reticular activating system. And the reticular activating system is part of that subconscious. It will find things that you tell it to look for.
Yellow car syndrome.
Exactly, yellow car syndrome. You buy a yellow car, or you get a new whatever Subaru Legacy. Suddenly, everyone's driving them. Your reticular activating system sees those things, and it's exactly the same thing with setting goals. I believe. I think that. Well, I remember reading a study somewhere that the average American walks past 2 opportunities a month to make $1 million.
Wow.
And it's unbelievable. But some people are seeing those opportunities and some people aren't. Because by setting effective goals, you activate your reticular activating system to see those opportunities. You suddenly see the yellow cars, you see the Subaru Legacy. You didn't see them before because you weren't telling it to focus on something. But when you get your subconscious focusing on something, then it will notice the opportunities. I think the universe is going to open doors, and the reticular activating system says, there's a door, walk through it, because that's what you're looking for. I think the more times doors open and you don't walk through them, eventually, they're going to stop opening. So I think successful people, they create their own luck. They see an opportunity and they step on through. And I think that's part of why setting goals is so important. It's not new, but it's also, and I think it's just common sense, but it's not common practice. 3% of this Yale cohort was setting goals. Can I show of hands here who's got written down goals?
I've got my hand up. That's just Casey.
Great. So out of, we've got 3 people there, 9 people, we've got 7 out of 9 people here. So that is already an amazing difference. There are 2 people here who will have written down goals after tomorrow. Or they're just stupid. But anyway, that's just my judgment. So anyway, so any questions around this? Why goals are important, how the brain works. I'm kidding, you guys aren't stupid, but I know you're intelligent enough to take this on board and master it. So actually, you're very intelligent. Any questions around this? Comments, thoughts, questions? Because I'm going to go through this with the team as well. But what I really think is really important is as a leadership team, because we're going to get to how we're going to support our teams, that we understand this, that we understand why it's important, and not only that we buy into it. Because the fact of the matter is it works. So if you don't think it works, then sing out now, and let's figure out why you think it doesn't work. Every successful person I know, be they sporting, be they entrepreneurs, they've got goals. The really successful people have written down goals and a plan to achieve them. I think when you look at people who are really successful, and then you look at all the things they do to be successful, you generally look at it and go, well, of course they're successful. Because they're prepared to do what the less successful people are not prepared to do. And, goals is one thing that, in my experience, is just consistent across the really successful people. So anyone got any questions, thoughts, don't believe this stuff works, got any doubts, anything like that? Because please, sing out, because I think it's really important we have that discussion.
I don't have any questions, but I have a comment, and that is that last night I was babysitting and I happened to be watching The Block Uncovered or something like that.
What's that?
Yeah. I don't usually watch much TV. And there was one couple, the couple that won actually, they said that at the beginning of every year they sit together and they plan out their goals for the year. And usually they have like lots of goals and they do achieve them. But this year there was one goal and that was to be on the block. And anyway, so they made the cut, they got on the block, and they didn't just get on the block, but they won. I was like, oh, that's it's really neat. Like that was their goal, and they achieved it. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that was the power of their goals. Yeah. Anyway,
I
pretty
think
widespread,
also
isn't
and another thing that to add to what we were talking about before is like having accountability. So actually telling people or sharing your goals and
Absolutely.
creating them with your partner or to make sure that you're both going in the same direction.
also
There's
you
no
trust.
point. There's no point unless you're going in
Well, I
the same
think that's
direction.
the main importance of this today, isn't it? That we're going to be for quite a few people that we work with.
Their accountability.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If they choose to, if this is not something we can force on people, but that's exactly right. And I think the other part of that as well, which is it's a great point, Michelle, is there's accountability to yourself as well. I know that I was talking about it with someone recently, and they're like, I don't set goals. I just don't set goals because if I fail to achieve them, then I'll feel bad about myself. And I was like, that's a really interesting point. Fear of failure is, I think, one of the big reasons people don't set goals. Because if you say this is what's important to me, and I'm writing it down, I'm saying it's important, and then you don't achieve it, what does that say about you? And that's purely a perceptual thing. Some people, the successful people, will look at that and go, well, I didn't achieve it. Oh, that's what it says about me. The fact of the matter is I didn't get there. How am I going to get there? Thomas Edison, 10,000 attempts before he actually made the incandescent light bulb. He didn't look at that and go, I'm a failure. He just said, well, I've learned 10,000 ways that it doesn't work. I'm closer. Even, if you can, I've got a belief that if you learn something and can take something out of the situation, then it's not failure. I think failure is, successful people, champions understand that failure is inevitable, but defeat is optional. And I think that, but by saying, this is important to me and I'm courageous enough to go after it, you put a stick in the sand and go, I can say honestly that this is something I want. I think it's really, really important. That's a great point though, Rochelle.
I think just knowing, or when you work out your goals, you've got to have them aligned to your personal values as well.
100%.
So, if they're not aligned, then, what chance has your subconscious got of actually doing anything about it?
Exactly. And I think some people don't set goals because they think, oh, I'm not a type A, I'm not the achiever, I'm not going to go after things. But that's right, set it to your own value judgment, your values and things. So it's like, we all want things. Some people it might be money, for some people it's not important. For some people it might be a really incredible relationship with their wife or husband or kids or whatever it is. It might just be getting fit. It might be all these little things. But it's it's got to be in play. One thing I talk about in the first one is find that thing that makes your heart sing, and by doing that you're aligned with your values because you're finding a thing that feels right for you. There's infinitely more energy going after something that you truly want. Remember, I'm going to talk about it in one of the sessions, but some of the people have been involved when I talked about, what's really take to be successful. And the first thing is hunger. You've got to be hungry. And you're only going to be hungry if you really want something. Desire is part of that hunger. So that's a great point, Brendan. Any other thoughts, comments, anything about this before we move into sort of how we're going to do this?
I think in terms of goals and everything else, the reason why I probably haven't written them all out is when I've looked at and read some books about goal setting and everything else, some of them tend to, I suppose, make it more complex than it probably actually needs to be, and that's probably put me off, where you wake up every morning and you spend half an hour every morning writing them down again and then visualising and then stopping and then doing these 7 stages and everything else, and before you know it's like, gosh, it's pretty exhausting setting these goals, because I've got to do 50 things throughout the day to make sure that I'm on track with my goal and everything else. So in terms of, I suppose, where I sit with my goals is, I had a goal to move away from Auckland and come down to Queenstown with all my friends and family still in Auckland, and it sort of happened, and then had a goal to buy a house, and then it happened, then have a family, then it happened, and then to build a house. So I suppose in terms of goals, I've always been like, I'm not this big, your typical, or what, not typical, but that goal setter that you may read about all of these books. But I suppose when I think about it in terms of, they were some things that I wanted,
I think everyone's different.
and they happened. But I probably didn't think too much about how it happened. It just sort of was there.
I think there's 2 points I'd make to that, Mike. I think absolutely one, everyone wants stuff, and most people will get some of the things they want in their lives. I'm sure every single person in that Yale cohort wanted something, and a lot of them would have got some of those things. The science shows that actually writing it down, so you're taking it from imagined to real, is that first step towards actually manifesting it and making it real. So actually having written down goals means, because the thing is, if you don't write them down, like you might get where you want to go, but if you haven't said, here's what I want, here's why I want it, and here's when I want it, very easy to fudge that and go, oh yeah, next year's fine, the year after, whatever. So, yes, you'll move towards things, no question, and clearly you can do that in your head. If you want to accelerate it, if you want a tool to accelerate it, then actually, having a process works. Now, again, another point, there's actually 3 points. This process is not going to be that complicated. But the third point is, it does take more effort than not doing it at all. And as I said, successful people do what the unsuccessful people are not prepared to do. So it's just a choice. It's what do I want, and what does it cost me if I don't actually get it at the rate that I think I can achieve it. It's going to come to a decision to go, well, do I want stuff? Do I want more than do I want to play at a high level that I'm playing at? And am I prepared to put in what I want? There are all sorts of ways. The why, the driving force, is one of the ways to actually get yourself over that hump. And again, to the point of, it's very easy to, if you put a goal in your head, to fudge it to yourself, fudge it with someone else, and just go, oh, it wasn't that important, or whatever. But if you write it down, there's power in that. So I think there's some great things. I think those are the some common reasons why a lot of people don't do it. They think it's going to be too hard, but they don't look at, well, what am I going to get from actually putting in the effort? I write my goals every single morning. It doesn't take half an hour. It takes 2 minutes. But every day I'm saying, what's important to me? What am I going to want to move towards? It comes down to anyone's choice. It's whether you want to sort of fast track things in your life, or whether you want to play a bit safer and give yourself an out. But it's everyone's choice, I think. And the cool thing is though, that by showing yourself you've got a goal and you move towards it, you're able to move towards what you want. It's just whether you want to do it maybe a bit quicker. But is anyone's call?
I think I've got a point to make on that subject actually, and I was a little bit anti it a few years back, and I was almost forced into giving it a go. Like our sales manager at the time said, no, you have to do this. It's really amazing, you've got to do it. Write it down on a piece of paper and stick it on the inside of your locker at work. That's all I ask you to do. And we did it, and of course, it took 5 minutes at a time. No more time spent on it that year. But the fact that I was going to my locker, opening the door and sort of seeing it every morning was enough to remind myself, my subconscious, that it was there and it's what I wanted. And I did really well that year. I achieved the goals that, not all of them, but most of the goals that I set out. And I think from a difficulty point of view, it really does not have to be hard. You just got to make sure that you remind yourself as often as possible.
Absolutely.
What those important things are.
And hold yourself accountable. Don't bullshit yourself and go, well, that's not really important. If it's important, well, fuck it, it's important. Go after it. Don't give yourself that out and go, yeah, I'm okay. I'm not. If you're not happy about something, admit it. You know, be brutally honest, because you're letting yourself down. Who here has done the give yourself an A exercise?
Yep.
And it's, you know, that we did in a recent session, the last leadership session. I've set up a reminder in my calendar, so I get that every week, and I'm looking at it every single week, because I think there's power in doing it, and there's power in actually reminding yourself and going, am I on track or not? Because I've said that this is important. I'm not going to bullshit myself and go, oh, it's not that important. It's really important to me. So I want to know if I'm on track or if I'm not on track. Because if I'm not on track, man, I got to make a course correction. And I think that there's courage in doing this process and really engaging yourself.
The proof's in the pudding, totally, and unless you give it a go, you'll never know. So, and it's when you start seeing the results manifest that you actually go, okay, this is kind of crazy. It's actually happening, you know.
Yeah.
But unless you really do give it a nudge, then you
never know. You never know. So it's, I mean, but it's anyone's choice. Any other thoughts, comments, questions around it, or anyone don't think that this is of value? No. All right, excellent. So leadership and goals. Remember the first leadership session, we did leadership is the ability to have a conversation with someone that, one, allows them to see an opportunity in their world, and two, willingly take action. So I think this is the essence of leadership, is seeing an opportunity and having them to be willing to take action. So seeing an opportunity to move their life forward, to create an exceptional life, to do things that are important to them, and then to actually for them to want it, to take action because they want to take action, not because they're being forced to. No, this is going to be it wouldn't be of no value, because as you said, you didn't really buy into it when you did it, but it's going to be of less value if you force someone to write their goals. They're going to go, this doesn't work. So all their subconscious is hearing, this is bullshit, this doesn't work. If someone sees it and they can say, okay, here's this kind of the science behind it, here's why it works, well, even if they're prepared just to go, well, it might work, or give it a go. You know, willingly take action. I think that's the important thing, because I believe that if as leaders, people are achieving what's important in their life, in a large part, or even in a small part, because you're part of their team, you know, because they're part of your team, whatever you want to look at it, I think that they're going to be much more likely to want to do things that help you achieve your goals too, in terms of, you know, as a company, you know, I want to see, you know, our vision is to enrich lives. Part of that, the most important part, I think, is with our staff. If as a team, people are achieving what's important to them because they're a part of our team, then we're going to have, you know, months like last month, as I said, are going to look like, you know, that's going to be our norm. Because people want to take action, people want to move things towards, because they see that by doing that, they're going to move towards their goals too. So helping them align, here's what you want, all right, here's how you could achieve that through, you know, your work. Because some of the things are going to be money, some of the things are going to be things they can learn, some of the things are going to be experience. There are going to be all sorts of ways that people can move towards what's important to them by being part of our team. And I think that's a really important thing. This quote from Zig Ziglar, if you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want. I think that's true. You know, people, the more value you can give, the more value you get back. And you get it back tenfold to the amount you give, I believe, if you give 100%. You know, the people who just give a little bit get a real little bit back. The people who really give of themselves and try and help other people get what they want, they get it back exponentially. You know, and I think that's the difference. That's why you've got a 3% and having more than the 97%. It's not fair, but it just is what it is. You give everything, you'll get even more back. So, I mean, that's why I think leadership is really important in terms of helping people achieve their goals. And that's why I'm really excited about having a whole team of people holding ourselves, holding each other accountable, helping each other out, and helping our teams. Any questions around this about, why as a leader this is important? Australia, anything from you guys? All right, cool. So in terms of the program, tomorrow we're going to do the goal achievement workshop. So this is just the start. In the past, this has been we did it once a year, and some people bought into it, and I love the people who buy into it, and who then share their results with me a year later. There's some people in this room, some people in Australia. I think it's awesome, and I'm always like pleasantly surprised at just how effective it is, and the people who really get into it, what they actually achieve. It's amazing. You've shared some awesome things you've achieved. Paul, you have too. Rochelle, you've shared some great things. There's been some really cool things that people have shared. Anna getting your house. There's these great things. And so tomorrow what we're going to do is do this process with the team. Now, the thing about the process is it's only the start. Because we'll have about an hour or so, it may go a little longer, but we don't have enough time to fully do this thing. Mike, to your point, it takes time, it takes effort. The people who really will benefit from it will be the people who go away and do something with it. There's going to be some exercises to take home. And so what I think, as a leadership team, we'll go through what we can do. But supporting people to actually want to go through that process and do it for themselves, that's going to be really powerful. And in February, you're going to do it, and I've done these presentations. I've done them before in different ways, and I'll update them and things. But I think repetition is the mother of skill. You hear something once, you may go one ear out the other. You hear it at the spaced repetition and hear it at the right times. I think will be really important. February is about fanatical balance. So we've covered that, but we covered that a long time ago. And the idea behind that is it's the whole. If you're saying yes to something, you're saying no to something else. I think people who strive for balance confuse it and end up with mediocrity often. They get a little bit of everything, the important, the unimportant. Fanatical balance is saying, what are the key areas of my life? What's really important? And what am I going to go after? And what am I going to then protect as well? Because, I know that if I say yes to Facebook, I'm saying no to something that's really important, say with my family, for example. And I've put my family as a real priority. So it's I did a session with some school kids the other day, and there was one girl, anything we want, the reality is anything we want is available, but we probably have to give something else up. And the amount of time she was spending on Facebook was holding her back from actually moving towards a really important goal. And one of the decisions she made out of that was to shut her Facebook account down. That little action is going to have a huge effect. It's going to free up hours of her day. So anyway, fanatical balance. And I think that it's 3 months after we've started the process. So it's a great check-in, and it's a great check-in for people to go, and that it's coming up. So you'll be able to kind of preempt it. But it's a great check-in for people to go, ooh, maybe I'm moving towards some things, but some of the things that I said are important. I've dropped off. It's a great chance to look at them again and go, are they really important? And if they are, what am I saying yes to? What am I saying yes to that's costing me my dreams? Costing me my destiny. And I think so that's going to be a cool session. In May, we're going to look at, we're going to go back through that, those 3 things: the hunger, what it really takes to be successful, what the mindset is to great successful. Because at that point, we're now 6 months into it, and some people will be charging, some people will have dropped off. This is a great chance to look at, well, why might you have dropped off, or why are you going for it 100%? It's a really important one. And then in August, the 3 elements of success are just adding in a couple of extra tools. And we've covered this one before, but looking at the 3 levels in terms of strategy, story, and state. So again, it's giving people another tool set to look at, well, what am I moving towards, or what am I not making the progress on, and why am I moving towards this one and not this one? So the idea is to support people throughout the year and to give them tools to actually help keeping them moving towards it. It's a way of helping people to go, this is important, it's a recheck-in, yeah, I may have dropped off, but I'm going to get back into it. We're not expecting perfection, but I think, if people give it their best, they're going to get amazing results. No one's going to be perfect. So in terms of supporting your team, these are just the ideas that I've come up with. And I'm really keen to get feedback, get ideas, and share them amongst each other. We do this on a regular basis. One, I think, is live by example. You know, make your life a masterpiece. Live great habits. We talked about that, you know, the last session. You know, if as leaders we can, you know, what does a masterpiece mean? It means whatever's important to you, you're going after it. Doesn't mean you're perfect. It doesn't mean you live by someone else's standards for success. It means you're making it a masterpiece by your own standards. So if we can do that as leaders, if we can embody that, if we can move towards what's important to us and create the habits and show people that we can create those habits to set ourselves up for success, then that's going to help other people. It's going to give people role models. You know, I think the more role models we have, the more people can model behaviour of their leaders, the better they're going to be. The second part is familiarising yourself, if they let you, with their goals. You know, with your team's goals. Find out what's important to them. You know, find out those top 4 things that they're moving towards, that they're going to be writing down every day, whatever it is. But find out what they are, and then help them, if they need it, to develop plans to achieve the goals. Again, I think a lot of people don't do this because they think it's going to be too hard. Anything is better than nothing. A plan doesn't need to be perfect. A plan that is, I think you're infinitely better to put some thought into it, kick it off, and then adjust as you go. If you fall over, get back up. You know, we're going to make plans, and we're not necessarily going to know exactly how we're going to do it. But let's give it a go. Give it our best, and then adjust as we go. You know, I think once you're in a race or in the fray, you know, if you're in battle, that's when the plan gets thrown out and you're adjusting, you're doing what you need to do, but the planning helps get you there and helps move you in that direction. Support and coach people. So this is where, you know, let's make it part of our conversation. You know, are you going to have the conversation weekly, or is it going to be monthly, or you know, I think, you know, this is not set a prescription of how to do it. But the idea is that we do it in whatever way works for us and for our teams. So, you know, help them to be accountable. Hold them accountable. You know, if someone says this is really important to me and they're just not doing anything towards that, ask them why. You know, bring them back to that why. You know, get a copy of their goals. You know, support them to finish the exercises, because tomorrow is just going to be the start. As I said, we're not going to have time to do the whole process. Support them to finish it. You know, check in and go, all right, you know, when's a good time to have this finished by, that we can check back in with each other and see what we've got. That would be a great way to do it. You know, it's like, I'm going to do it too. Should we say the end of next week, or whenever? And if they go, no, that's not realistic, you know, well, when is realistic? So that we can do it, so that we can help them, and then on an ongoing basis, you know, are you making progress or not? All right, which ones are you making progress in? Great, so what are you doing there that's different from the ones that you're not making progress? However it's going to be. You know, and I think that will be, I think that's going to be really, really powerful. Celebrating successes as well. Like, you know, giving them a pat on the back. Like today, you know, celebrating it with the team, whatever it is. You know, some people don't like to sing their own praises, Noel, but sometimes you've got to do it for them. You know, those are just some ideas. And you know, if I can be a support for you as our leadership team, then let me know. You know, in whatever way you want to do it. However we want to do it. But I think if we're all moving in a direction that's exciting, that gets us going, and our team is doing the same thing, can you imagine the energy that will be around? I think it'll be really exciting. So those are my ideas. Has anyone else got any other ideas about how we might be able to do it? Support our teams and help them to achieve what's important for them.
I think that sharing your goals, if you're happy to, some of your goals as well, is vital, because you know it's a two-way street.
Totally.
You can't just expect someone to bare their soul to you, and
totally,
if you're not going to do it back. So
absolutely, I think one of the key strengths of good leaders is vulnerability. So being able to say, this isn't where I want it to be, but this is what I'm going for, and I'm not necessarily happy about where I'm at, but I'm okay with it. I'm okay to share it because I'm going to move towards it. You know, it might be something quite personal. You don't have to share it with the whole team, but I think it's a great point. If you can share that with someone, they'll be like, wow, you know, they're being really honest, you know, brutally honest, and maybe I could do that too. Because I think sometimes people just need a model of you know, what's courage. And I think courage is that vulnerability and sharing what's important. It's a great point.
I agree with you. And sharing maybe sometimes when you haven't hit your goals as well.
Yep.
Just to kind of go,
it's
I know
okay,
I've overestimated my goals,
Of course.
but it's kind of, if you get to, if you're happy where you're at.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Ask them to help you as well, like engage them.
Great
by
point.
Asking for help in return.
Great point. Can someone make sure they're taking notes on these extra ideas? I think these are great. Ask them to help you. Perfect. Get them to coach. What better way to become an expert at something than to coach other people? Great point, Paul.
Ensure they know that you believe in them and that
Yep.
you believe that they can
Yep.
actually achieve their goals.
So
Absolutely.
it sort of comes back to that values again.
Yep.
You know, understanding what their value structure
Yeah.
is
Why?
is going to help your team environment anyway.
Ask why. Why you want that? Not out of judgment, just like, I want to know, why is that important? And coming back to your point in terms of belief, remember those three things, those three beliefs for anything to change. It must change, I must change it, and I can change it. I think as leaders, if we can help instill those three beliefs in people, you know, like to get them to, you know, I want this, but I'm kind of, you know, if they're not on track, it's like, all right, let's go back to, is this a must for you? Or are you giving yourself an out? Well, you know, why? Tell me again why it was important. What's it going to cost you if you don't get it? Let's go 5 years into the future and you haven't achieved this important thing, which might be, you know, a level of intimacy with your partner or whatever. You know, something that's, you know, really important. It might be an income level or whatever it is. But how are you going to feel about that? What about if you go 10 years in the track? What could that cost you? Oh, your marriage, right? Oh, and you don't live with the kids. Oh, that's, you know, pain and pleasure. Help people get that leverage. We do things to go after pleasure and to avoid pain, and generally we'll do more to avoid pain. So you utilise that leverage. You're not doing it to manipulate people. You're doing it to help, you know, influence someone to be willing to take the action that they've said they want to take.
Yeah.
I think that would be really, really powerful.
Are you going to use the 7 steps to, do you remember we did that
Break it
7
down.
to get to the one goal, like the breakdown?
Yeah, we can use.
I think that's a really good idea.
And the step 5, which is do in terms of take action. That law of sevens
Yeah.
is one way I'll share.
Okay.
So I think it's a really simple way. We'll
Yeah.
cover that tomorrow and do it for
Cool.
those who don't know it. But yeah, absolutely. I think that's just a really simple way to chunk a big thing and go, whoa, that's big.
Yeah.
All right,
I
I'm
find
going
it
to 49 different things to go, I can tick those off.
Yeah.
And I tick those things off, I do one a day, and hang on a second, I'm there.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I found that part of it
Absolutely.
excellent.
And then now those are the sort of tools that, you know, if someone's going, oh, I just don't know how I'm going to do that. All right, let's go back to the rule of sevens. Chunk it down, chunk it down. All right, you've got 49 things. Tell me when you're going to do it by. You know, give them some time. I think you want to push people, and you don't want to push people too hard because they've got to go at their own pace. I think in terms of dreaming about things, dream as big as you want, but you don't have to dream any bigger because you don't have to. You know, sometimes in these goal setting things, people set these crazy things that they're like, oh, I remember I was at a Tony Robbins thing and someone was like, you know, I want to make $46 billion. And the question was like, well, why do you want to achieve that? And are you just saying that because, I mean, you're not going to, you know, here to tell someone what they should or shouldn't want, but is that really important to you? You know, because you've got to get the why and you've got to believe it. It must change. I must change it and I can change it. If you don't have those 3 beliefs, forget about it. Because you're going to go, well, $46 billion, it's not really a must, I love it, but I must change it.
Why?
I can change it. Fuck, I didn't make $100 last week. You know, it's the sort of, you know, but that's just an example. But if someone goes after something, there's no one's got any reason to say you can't do it. So, you know, that's that thing. But those beliefs are really critical. What else could we do? Australia, what do you think?
I think you made a really good point about visualising it. So by writing it down, you visualise. But say, for example, if they weren't really happy to share it out to, for example, our office, you could kind of have pictures. So say if one of them was to buy a new house or things like that, almost like a vision board, just have it up on their desk so they can kind of keep it in their mind.
Yep.
But it's kind of still a little bit more private than having it written out there for other people to read.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point. And vision boards are going to be one tool that I will share tomorrow. And again, it's, you know, for us as leaders, it's about going, probably reviewing it after tomorrow and go, okay, well, what are the tools people would use? You know, you're going to write, you're going to visualise, you're going to have a vision board. You know, just helping our people to really engage in this thing because it's amazing. It's amazing how it works. Like, I've had times in my life where I did something and I was like, at the time, there's no way I can achieve this by this date. And I almost didn't believe it, but I was like, no, I'm going for it. And it's amazing how how things can align when you go after it with that level of intensity.
You should share those stories.
When you go after it at I'm holding something back level of intensity, you know, you don't necessarily get what you want. When you go after it with 100%, guns blazing, burn your boats, there is no backup plan, it's amazing what you can achieve. Any other thoughts, any ideas? I think it's been some great ideas.
I think it would be really valuable, like Anna says, tomorrow to actually share some things that
Good idea.
people in the team have achieved by setting goals and where they're at, because that
It's a
Makes
great
it
idea.
It makes
You know,
it real,
yeah.
a lot more believable.
Yeah.
And once again, it's just sharing that vulnerability.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
Success stories.
That's a great idea. So look, I mean, people can think, make sure you've got a great example.
Or even the times when it hasn't worked, but then you have, like you said,
Yeah.
you know, got up again and again and again and made it work.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah, that's a great point. So think of some examples, and so we can, if we ask for examples, you know, you've got something to share tomorrow. That's a great point. Really good point.
I think we've got to make an effort to make people feel important as well.
Yep.
You know, important to be a part of this whole thing, important to be a part of the organisation, you know,
Yeah.
how and why they are important to this particular system that we have and process that we're going through
It's
as
a
well.
great point. Like part of the ecosystem, you know, you're in the team, the team.
Yeah, the importance of them, and they're not just a bum on a seat.
Yeah.
You know, they are. You know, they have their own individual level of importance.
Yeah, exactly.
Impact. You know, just as much as the next person.
That's
in their own.
Good point. And by them going after what's important to them and living that way,
Yeah.
it helps other people.
I think,
You know,
yeah.
it creates a level of momentum, doesn't it?
And it
Just
ties
doing it for
into
sake of it, you know?
the stories, I think. Like it could lead in from that, where the stories of previous people, and then give the confidence of that these are the new generation MedRecruit, and that it's part of their future, I suppose, and
Totally.
the confidence.
Totally, exactly. The people who have been here the longest, who have bought into this process, what it's done for them. So painting a compelling future is probably a good thing. So
This
it's
is the
like,
reason why we're still here, isn't it?
Haley had a really cool story.
Haley did.
Her like her farewell email. It was like, hey guys, just want to let you know that.
yeah. She has
You
some
know.
great stuff. She bought into it and she went
Yeah.
after it and she gets the results.
Yeah.
You know?
I think also associating or working with people that could be like-minded, for example. So you know, you might sit there and you've got goals, but you may not write them down every day. And just what Paul said. Whereas you might be talking to someone who just lives and breathes this stuff and everything else.
Bloody up.
And it could almost be like, wow, I'm just not as enthused or whatever else as this person here. But then you meet someone who's doing it and got winsome and say like, look, man, I was like you. You know, do this rather than someone going like, oh, I just don't understand why you're not into this. You know, this is gold, and I've always done this. You know, and not really related. Like when you said that comment, you know, about how you were like that and everything else. Speaking to someone like that and go like, now look, keep going because you'll get there because I was there.
That's a great point. I think it's a great point. Getting people who necessarily were like them, but have moved on, because the quality of our lives is the direct reflection of the expectations of our peer groups. So you wouldn't pair two people who both don't buy into it, because that's not going to work.
No.
But exactly, someone who didn't buy into it and change. The thing is, most of us didn't buy into it at some point. I didn't buy into it early on until the head injury. I just lived day to day. I didn't really set goals. I kind of go after things. You know, I wanted to do well in skiing, and I was ranked 4th in New Zealand, and that was, you know, I kind of nothing set in concrete. We did the head injury, and it's like, doctor said you'll never ski again, so I set the goal next year I'm going to be New Zealand swim ski champ. You know, I think everyone who's done this at some point in their lives, well, probably not everyone, but most people didn't buy into it at some point. But the thing is, at some point they chose to buy into it 100%, and they got amazing results. They didn't dabble in it. The people who go, yeah, tried it, didn't work, dabble, guaranteed. The people who got bought into it 100%, and I don't know if anyone, and people might disagree with me, but would people agree that the point where this started to really work was when they go, right, bugger it, I'm giving it 100%.
Yeah.
But I think that you sometimes do just do a little bit at the start, and then those things
I guess some of the
happen
ones.
and they're really successful.
Yeah.
So you're like, well, maybe it works.
Yeah, and maybe
So you're willing
that's
to give it.
as leaders, you could help people, you know, that rule of 7 is chunking it down to little things and go, set a little goal. all right, you set a goal and you wrote it down and you achieved it. They might go, yeah, but it's something little. It's like, it doesn't matter.
Condition
Big-
yourself to...
Big goals work the same way.
Yeah.
So that's a great point. So I'm gonna write that down so we'll get that. Because I'll put together a little, all the ideas, and then it gives you a smorgasbord of ways to help people.
And I think also knowing what type of person they are, like creative people. I know we did a goal setting session for 3 years ago maybe, where it was all visual. We had to draw pictures, and I'm really shit at drawing pictures. So my pictures looked all weird, and I didn't even really see what I was drawing. And that didn't work for me.
Yeah.
But then we did another one probably 6 months later,
Yeah.
where we wrote everything down and broke it down into 7, and then in 7 again, and I was just doing little steps, and that really worked.
Yeah,
So
okay.
it's different.
Great point.
Different way you work.
And what I'm going to share tomorrow are different tools, different ways. You don't have to do them all. You can do them all, but you don't have to. Pick what works. That's a great point, is to help people go, oh, that's bullshit. It's like, cool, that doesn't work for you. Fine, do it. This is another way.
That doesn't even look like a person.
Just do it differently. Great point. Well, that's right, there isn't a set way to do it, Remain committed to what you're trying to achieve, but flexible in your approach. If that doesn't work, try something else. Fall over, get back up. Great point. Any other thoughts? I think this is some great
I
stuff.
think just this group being obviously some of the leaders in the organisation, we shouldn't knock anybody else's goals either. We've got to be really mindful that that's their goal, not, if it's as aspirational as they want, then so be it.
That's right, dream as big as you want, but you don't have to dream any bigger.
Yeah.
I think that's a great point. You can't influence someone if you're judging them. So, it's great. Don't judge their goal. Their goal is what it is. It's personal. Their definition of success is going to be completely different from yours. My definition of success is probably completely different from a lot of people's. But it's mine. It's personal. So that's right. Great point. Don't judge them. Just help them achieve what's important. And if they want to dream little, cool. You can encourage them. We'll dream a bit bigger. But if they're like, this is what I want to do, great. Help them to do that. Help them to
Get
do
them
that.
to anchor some emotions to some of those goals as well.
Yeah.
How you feel when you're in
Totally.
a position where you've got that and you're actually enjoying that situation or that outcome or whatever.
Yeah.
That's always been strong for me, is to really anchor those emotions.
That's powerful.
That give yourself an A thing was just so good for that. Like actually writing how you feel, and once you've got all those things, is awesome.
Absolutely. That's a great point. Tony Robbins shares something called the Dickens process, and it's based on what was that? A Christmas Carol, and there was Scrooge.
Oh, Scrooge.
And by Charles Dickens.
Yeah.
And the thing is that they looked at Scrooge, and he was the meanest guy, and he was rich. So he was like, because I'm mean, I'm rich. So he kind of had this association, and so the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future came and showed him, and they took him back in time. Here's what being mean has done. These little kids out in the street and hungry, and he started to associate with the pain that his actions caused. Then here's what it's doing at the moment. Then they took him into the future, and they said, here's what it's going to do. And he made a change, because we do things to avoid pain or to gain pleasure. So the only reason someone wouldn't take an action that's going to move them towards what they want is because they associate more pain with taking that action. The only reason someone's income level is where it's at is because for some reason, at some level, they associate more pain with more income. And that may seem crazy, but the pain might be, I got to work harder, or I got to do something differently, or I got to get something, whatever it is. If you haven't got what you want, it's because you associate more pain to it than to not going for it, even if it's something you really, really want. So that's using those emotions. You can use that as a process for people. Go, okay, let's stop. And go, you said this is important. Let's say you haven't achieved it. How are you going to feel in a year? What's it going to cost you in 5 years? And really get into it. What's it going to cost you in 10 years? Go 20 years into the future. How do you feel if you didn't make this simple change now? What's that going to cost you? And then do the same thing again. But what if you did make the change? Just pretend you did. How are you going to feel in a year if this has panned out exactly as you hoped it would? Now let's go 5 years. What's your life look like now? 10 years, 20 years, really associate, because the only reason they're going to change is leverage. Gain pleasure, avoid pain. So that's a great tool. If someone's not making the moves they need to do, it's because they associate more pain with taking that action. And as human beings, we don't do things that we think are going to cause us more pain. We have to change that association.
Change the paradigm.
Exactly. Any other thoughts? I mean, there's been some great ideas and great discussion. No, okay, so in terms of taking action, so the first step is tomorrow, attend the goal achievement workshop. This is what I do. Take personal action. So do this yourself. Encourage your team to take personal action. I think it'd be a great idea afterwards, if you want to get together with your team, however big or as little that is, and say, all right, cool. What, there's some things we're going to do. Let's set a time and come back and share them. So not only does that say we're going to do it, it's also set some accountability and show some vulnerability. That'd be a great way to do it. Review them with your teams. Make sure it happens. It does happen. It's not like, okay, let's wait. Let's do it in December. It's like, let's keep the momentum. And then however you want to do it, however you want to do those progress reviews, set them up. Set yourself up to win. However you want to do it, set it up at a meeting request in your calendar. First Monday of every month, or whatever it is. Whatever it is. But you do that. Make it part of the conversation. If there's any way I can help you with your goals, whatever, let me know. And reach out to each other as well if you need support. If you want to, set up a monthly where you get together and talk about your goals, or you want me involved, whatever. However you want to do this. This is not a prescription of exactly how it's going to work, because I don't think that works. It's got to work for each of us, and it's got to work for our teams. The key though is to help your team see an opportunity in their world and willingly take action. So how are you going to make it so that they willingly take action, not so that they're forced to do it? Because if they do this, I promise you, if they do this 100%, they will get results in the next year that they've never gotten before. Because we are capable of so much more. Our life is not a reflection of our capability, it's a reflection of the size of goals that we've set and gone after with 100%. So if you help your team, if you really can do this, and do it with yourself, if you want to pick a buddy or whatever, however you want to do it, you will achieve more in the next year than you've ever achieved before. And I think that is what this is about. That's what I'm excited about, because I think we've got a great opportunity. We've got a great company and a great group of people and a great opportunity ahead of us to not only do good things as a company, but to do good things as individuals and really take our lives forward. The more we do that, the more we can thrive as individuals and as a business, the more we've got to spread around. And I think that's where we can all do really, really well. So I'd love to see in a year's time, people sharing the goals that they set. They may just at the time thought that's crazy, but they did it and they went after it, and they went after it with absolute hunger and desire and passion, and they got there. Or they went after it and they didn't quite get there, but they got somewhere else that was even better. Or they course corrected. However it's going to look, we don't necessarily know where we're going to end up. But if we go after it with this type of intensity and this level of living, we're going to end up somewhere better. Are there any other thoughts about it? Any comments, questions, or anything?
Danny's away, so I don't know. It might be an idea for one of us, or maybe all of us, to help the PCs out. Buddy up.
Great idea.
PCs.
Great idea.
A go-to person if they need to ask questions or bounce anything off us. So.
Yeah, great idea. So Danny's away. We'll get the video for her to watch. I think it's really important anyone who's not here does that. Is Neville with you guys tomorrow in Australia?
Yeah.
Cool. That's a great point. And what we could do is, if you want to have that conversation with them, and say, look,
maybe we'll split them, couple to me, couple to Michelle, couple to
How long?
whatever.
When's Danny back? I think she's in Australia.
She's back on.
November.
She's back.
It's Monday, so yeah.
Just in the meantime, while when there's a
I think
transitional
they need
period
to feel the
between.
love.
Totally. Just say, have you got
know?
exactly any questions?
Yeah.
I'll do the same as well. So
Yeah.
if they feel that, whoever needs to, we'll all help them out.
Yeah.
And it's the idea is, what do you want to do now? Because Danny's going to be part of this with you guys, but she's going to get back into it next month. Next Monday.
Yeah.
I think it's a great point. I think the key is that this is as leaders, we look out around our teams and go, who
needs it?
Who needs some help?
Yeah.
Who needs some support? Who needs a bit more of a discussion? Who needs to go grab a coffee and talk through some of their fears? Who's afraid of failure? Because we all have fear of failure, but who's that holding back? Who needs a Dickens process done over a cup of coffee or whatever? How can we support these people from a perspective of how can I help them? How can I help them? Not how can I manipulate them to do what I think is important? But I think if we do that, if we help them out we're going to make a real difference. Great point.
Yeah, and that's why sharing our stories can be so important. Is that they'll need that kind of proof almost.
Totally.
That it works
Totally.
before
And
they buy
exactly.
into it.
And how I've been where you're at. I didn't buy into this stuff. Every one of us who's done this and done it well
Yeah.
didn't buy in at some point.
Yeah.
Quality of our lives was, I'm sure, I know mine was very different when I didn't do this. And then I got into it. Any other questions or anything before we finish up? All right. This is a great quote. Leadership is lifting a person's vision to high heights, the raising of a person's performance to a higher standard, the building of a personality beyond its normal limitations. I think when we do this well over this coming year, that's what we're going to do. We're going to help people lift their vision, and it may just be a little bit, or it may be a lot. We're going to help raise their performance, in their lives, at work, out of their work. And we're going to help, doing that is going to help build someone's personality beyond its normal limits. I think the purpose of setting goals is not just to achieve the goals, it's to become the people we need to be to achieve those goals. I'll say that again. I've said it before, but a lot of you have heard it. The purpose of setting goals is not just to achieve the goal, it's to become the person we need to be to achieve those goals. And I think if we keep that in mind throughout the year, how can we help people become that person to raise the level of their lives? To raise the standards in their lives, because that goes with them. The goals will come and go. People will achieve cool things, and that's awesome. And the person they had to be to achieve those cool things is what's going to be the true value that's going to go with them. It's going to raise their character. It's going to raise who they are, their personality, so that the rest of their lives is better because they're involved in this program. They're involved in this process, and that's what gets me excited. That to me is enriching lives, and I think we've got a unique opportunity to really do that and really partner with people to help them. So I thank everyone for being part of this. I think this is going to be infinitely more powerful than when I just did it once a year and some people did it and some people didn't. Not everyone's going to buy in. That's going to be cool. That's their choice. But let's give them all the opportunity, all the resources and the help if they need to get over a hump to get there. And I think I'm excited to sort of share and see what comes. And I think as we do leadership stuff into next year, I think part of this is going to be, can be goals, and whoever wants to buy into that and talk through it and ask for advice, ask for coaching from each other, let's make that available. So once again, thank you. I'm excited about tomorrow. I think I'm excited about what we're going to do as a team. So
Cool.
thank you. Nice work, guys.
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Australia. We will see you tomorrow.